Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Grassroots Motorsports Live, presented by CRC Industries. Look at all of you being nice and already logging in, already checking out the show tonight. We got a great show tonight. We got super crazy variety hour. We're going to be looking at this 2019 Mazda MX-5. I'm going to call it a Miata a few times. I'm going to apologize for that in advance, but I'm not going to be able to restrain myself from calling it a Miata, and that's just something you're going to have to get over because I grew up with this being a Miata. More horsepower. It's a new generation of the ND series Miata. We'll be taking a close look at it in just a couple minutes. Also, we've got a very, very cool feature on from out of Toronto, Canada, a turbocharged 1972 Datsun 240Z from our friends at Quentin Yeri and Mike Wolf. We'll be taking a closer look at that car around the midpoint of the show. We got a little feature on their vehicle as well. Very, very cool Z car, fast autocrosser out of the Great White North. Big aero, big turbo, sequential transmission. Hope you stick around and join us for that. And also, we will be going live in just a little bit to see some of the folks at the other GRM garage across town, where we are sort of sorting through and picking out the pieces of a $500 race car we just bought for some reason that escapes me, and I don't really know exactly what that reason is, but we're going to go live to them at some point, and they're kind of stuff they bought, so we'll be checking that out. Thanks for watching, Owen. Thank you very much for all the likes, all the shares, all the comments. If you're watching us on YouTube, I got you over here. If you're watching us on Facebook, I got you right here. Remember, smash that like button, smash that share button, and throw a comment down in the comment section to let us know you're here. Don't even care what it says. I just want, I'm needy. I'm a very, very needy person. Also, check out our friends, the people that support this show. I'm talking about folks like CRC Industries. You can check them out at crcindustries.com. Even better, check them out at a major retailer, a big box hardware store, Harbor Freight, Walmart, any place you buy auto parts. And if you're looking for automotive chemicals, you're going to get a great product from them. You're also going to get a product from a company that supports cool stuff like this and great events and great race teams throughout motorsports. Check out Autobooks Aerobooks, the world's greatest bookstore in Burbank, California. Autobooks-aerobooks.com. Tens of thousands of books, magazines, DVDs, videos, collectibles. If you can check them out in person, they have great live events there at the store. If you can't, go to autobooks-aerobooks.com, find them on the web. And tonight, we're going to be weighing this here 2019 Mazda MX-5 partially retractable hardtop model. We'll have it on our Intercop scales in another edition of What's It Weigh, presented by Intercop. So whoever is closest to the actual weight of this here Mazda MX-5 going to win fabulous prizes from Grassroots Motorsports and Intercomp. And we want you to get your guesses in the chat, in the YouTube chat, in the Facebook chat, and we'll be weighing this vehicle at the end of the show. Alrighty, already got some guesses coming in on that. So let's talk a little bit about the 2019 Mazda MX-5 and what's different, what's going on. We have Dave Coleman from Mazda with a video that we shot at the media launch. He's going to show us a little bit about what's different under the hood, because that is where the major differences are. Let me get under here and give you a quick preview. We're not going to spend too much time under the hood because Dave Coleman gives us the full rundown on what is going on under here. But if you've ever seen under the hood of an ND Miata, this is not going to be anything unusual. Big difference that we are looking at for 2019 is a bunch more horsepower. So how much more horsepower? Well, rated horsepower on the original series of ND Miatas, the 4th generation Miata, was 155. That's crank horsepower at the crank. So most chassis dynos that we saw of bone stock, 2016, 2017, 2018 ND Miatas, we're looking at in the low 140s. We saw some dyno numbers on tuned cars that were in the high 150s. These are cars with like headers and electronic tunes. The dyno numbers on this, we actually were able to run one of these cars on a chassis dyno during the press launch, and here are the dyno numbers from that. Katie's walking away from our throw up that dyno chart for us, Katie. All right, here are the dyno numbers for the for the 2019 car. So we are looking at what is that? 100 and I can't see it yet. David, what was the horsepower number for that? I can't see it on screen. What was the horsepower number for the 19 on the chassis dyno? 160. Okay, so 167, 150 pounds of torque. If we take a look at the curve there, so immediately we're talking about 20 plus wheel horsepower over the previous generation, and another 10 to 12 horsepower over tuned versions of the previous generation. But if you look at the curve, the thing you notice about that curve is a lot of that power is coming from the upper end of the power band. So we're basically, if you look at a stock curve for a ND1, you're going to basically see a very, very similar curve until about 6,000 RPM, and then you're going to basically see this curve for the ND2 continue to climb while the ND1 is basically leveling off. Yeah, Angela says it's a peaky torque curve. It is peaky, but it's also, it's pretty flat across the entirety of it for a small engine. So we actually talked to Dave Coleman, who is bring me back up. Talked to Dave Coleman at the media launch. Dave is somebody you might recognize from Sport Compact Car back in the day, and he is a Mazda engineer. Gave us a really, really good breakdown on exactly what is going on under the hood of this car. So let's roll that video where we talk to Dave. It's the Mazda B-roll, Katie. That one.
All right. Tell us what is new on this new car.
All right, here we are, 2019 MX-5.
Right.
Here's what's new: the engine. Conceptually, it's basically still the 2-liter Skyactiv engine. It looks almost exactly the same unless you look really, really closely. First thing you can see is you'll notice these runners are a little bit fatter than they were before. That's your first hint that absolutely everything that the air touches on its way through the engine is bigger. Throttle body's bigger, manifolds is bigger, ports are bigger, valves are bigger, pistons are lighter. Rods are lighter, crank is stiffer, exhaust valves are bigger, exhaust ports are bigger, exhaust runners are bigger, exhaust is bigger, muffler's bigger.
Bigger is better.
Bigger is better, especially when the bigger part is the holes in it, because holes don't weigh anything. All right?
So you're not adding weight?
No, we're not. So, yeah, well, technically, if we're really being honest, we've added 7 pounds,
right? And
every one of those pounds really hurt. But I think it's well worth it.
Okay.
Part of the weight was adding an oil cooler,
right?
And it's an oil-to-water heat exchanger, so the water in there weighs something.
Okay.
Another part of the weight was adding the telescoping steering wheel that everybody kept beating us over the head saying that we needed to have. So, all right, we listened. That's half a pound.
Right.
And then we actually, and don't get scared when I say this, we put a dual mass flywheel in the thing,
right? Which
sounds like a horrible idea, but what we did is, the reason we waited so long, we almost had it initially. Dual mass flywheels are usually super heavy and awful,
right?
And we did a lot of work to get the inertia of that flywheel down to the same as the original flywheel in this car. So it revs just as quick, revs drop just as quick,
okay,
just as lively, but it smooths out all those gearbox vibrations and kind of rattly noises, and it makes the engine really smooth at high RPM. So now that we've got a 7,500 RPM red line on this engine,
right,
that's the big deal. An extra 1,000 RPM was what all of that work was really just for those revs at the top. That means when you're coming up to a corner, you don't have to upshift and then downshift again as you come into the corner. You can hold it at 6,000, 65, 7, and the engine is so smooth at those revs, it feels comfortable just staying up there all day long.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And this was all your handiwork?
Well, no.
Okay.
I did a lot of the complaining that led to this, but so that you can credit me with internal complaining.
Thank you for complaining. All right, one thing not everyone may know, this car originally was going to have a 1.5 liter engine.
Right. So in most of the world, it does have a 1.5 liter engine.
Okay.
The original plan was all of the cars globally would have just a 1.5.
Okay.
And you know, the idea on the car was to get back to the roots of what the NA was. You know, smooth, high revving, small engine. The 1.6
right.
was really to a lot of purists, that's the better of the NAs, not the bigger 1.8. And so we were kind of all on board with, you know, we want the high revs and we wanted the smoothness, right. and we want the lightweight on the nose of the car, but there was a kind of disconnect between us and Japan on how quick the car needed to be just in normal traffic.
Okay.
And they kept trying to convince us, no, look, the 1.5 is going to be great, it's going to be great. And to their credit, they were right. The 1.5 is pretty damn great. It was way better than we thought it was going to be. And in fact, you know, I've spent a lot of time driving them around in the back roads, and you don't miss the 2 liter at all in the back roads. It's when you get into the city and there's a car next to you, and suddenly you have a reference frame for how fast you're going. All the sensations are great in the 1.5. You're getting everything you want out of the car. It's just when you see a car next to you and you're hammering on it and the car next to you just kind of gently walks away, that's when suddenly you feel slow, and that's where the 2 liter really pays off.
And that car next to you is a sedan or something.
You're right, yeah. 89 Accord or something. So that's why we ended up having a 2 liter in the US. And in Japan they have the 2 liter in the RFs and the 1.5s in the Roadsters. Actually. But the car having been designed around the 1.5, we kind of just crammed the 2 liter in there. So ultimately the car is better because it was designed around the 1.5. It's smaller than it would have been if it was designed around the 2 liter and lighter. But that's why it took us this long to get the extra 1,000 RPM on this engine. All of the development budget was allocated to the 1.5 because that was what was planned when we started the program. And so we just kind of had to take the standard 2 liter and tune it as much as we could and stick it in there.
Is the 1.5 and the 2 liter physically the same size, or is the 2 liter physically bigger?
Yeah, that's the thing about the Skyactiv engine family. They look the same, but then you just realize, oh, I'm not standing farther away from the 1.5. It's in the same place. It's just everything is proportionally smaller. So we used to build engines around manufacturing and these big machines that would drill holes in this place, right? Now we build them with CNC machines that can adjust to every single engine that comes through. So now we build them around a combustion chamber concept and scale it up proportionally. So we try to keep everything proportionally the same, and just the bore and stroke and bore spacing and everything gets bigger at the same time. So the engines look completely the same and don't have any interchangeable parts.
Awesome.
It's really wild.
Okay. Another quick question. We were talking about transmission. And there may have been a few issues on the earliest ND. So what transmission is in this for people who are wondering? So
the first year of the ND, we had a couple of second and third gear failures. And we found some things in the very root of the teeth where there was like a sharp spot here or there that would cause a stress concentration. So we smoothed out the gear machining. We thickened up third gear a little bit. Altogether there were 4 changes. I remember what 2 of them were. I don't remember the other 2. I can't get quite a straight story on the transmission in this car, because I talked to my transmission guys that said there's no changes at all. The torque is almost exactly the same. Torque is what breaks the transmission. But the part number is different, so something is slightly different in the transmission. I haven't figured out what it is yet.
And we're talking about the weight, 7 more pounds. So that's...
I don't have an exact breakdown of where it came from, but the parts I can find are the oil cooler, the flywheel, which, again, the inertia of the flywheel is the same, but the total weight. So that just means more of the weight's in the middle, less is on the outside, right? So people shouldn't freak out. From what a flywheel does, it's the same, but it still actually weighs a little bit more. Right? And then the telescoping steering wheel, which
half a pound.
Guys were asking for it, so half a pound there.
All right. Cool.
Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. So we're inside the MX-5. Now, thanks very much, by the way, to Dave Coleman for giving us a walkthrough of the engine bay, because there is a lot of technology that has changed from 18 to 19. Just to remind you guys, in a couple minutes, we're going to be going live to other GRM Garage and taking a look at our new $500 race car. Before we do that, though, I wanted to give you a quick tour of the interior and some of the features about the inside of this MX-5 that I really like. First off, I'm a big fan of the power retractable hardtop, the PHRT or whatever they call it. Very smooth operation, very easy operation. Does add some weight to the car, but if you're not going to use this as a track car, an autocross car, to be able to do this, that's pretty cool. And you can, the view from the seat and the impression that you get when you're underway is very Miata-like. You don't really even realize that there is stuff behind you. Another touch that I really like on this car, because I'm kind of a gross, you know, sweaty dude, is this right here. The tops of the door sill of the doors are plastic. They're body color matched plastic, and they're not leather, they're not vinyl. So if you're like me and you drive around with your elbow up here all the time, every car I own, after about 2 or 3 years of me oozing my dude juice all over it on the door sill here, gets a big stain right there. It's constantly gross. This is a nice hard plastic. I really like that. It's a very cool little piece of attention to detail. Kay just warned me about saying dude juice, so I won't say that again. Instruments are very modern Mazda. They've revamped the center information screen here a little bit. It's not quite as much in the view as some of the previous cars were. The earlier models, that actually intruded up into the windshield area a little bit. Took a little bit of getting used to. This one is a little bit cleaner, and you have some LCD gauges in there that actually look really nice. And when we're putting the top up, Chris, see if you can get a shot of our little graphic here when we're putting the top up, because this is pretty cool. It's really fun to hop out of a convertible and watch the top go up, but you can't do that in this car. But they give you a nice graphic representation of the top going back up, so you could see what it would look like. And the operation is complete. Now, I assume if you have a red MX-5, the graphic is red, but I'm not gonna fault the car for doing that. So Arthur wants to know if is it a soft top or retractable hard top. It is a fully retractable hard top. It's got a headliner in there. It is a for all intents and purposes a hard top. It is a coupe essentially, and it has these really cute little sail panels in the back. Everything is a solid surface. There's no soft surfaces. It isn't like a Lotus Elise that has like a bikini top that's fabric. This is all fiberglass and metal. All right, let us go now to GRM Garage 2. We are nailing things on time here, and we've never done this before live in the middle of a show, so I apologize in advance when this goes horrifically haywire and we're not really able to pull this off. But let us call our friend Tom Suttard. You folks are just going to have to trust me here that I know what I'm doing. And by the way, all of our broadcast software and communication software had updates today. So nothing works the way it did just 24 hours ago. Okay, let's call Tom here. Hi.
Hello?
Are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm there.
Oh, look at that. Okay, let me get you into the program here. This is going to go so well. I am so excited about this.
I'm excited.
Oh, you guys all have themed gear on. I like that. Okay. All right, boys, how are you tonight?
We're doing good because we're working on our newest crap can race car.
Okay,
you want to see it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's set this up a little bit. Don't just give it all away. You got to take it from a trained professional here. You gotta tease things a little bit. So about 2 weeks ago, you messaged me, and you were like, "Hey, I think I just bought a $500 excuse me, $500 race car," and I was like, "Well, that's great. Why'd you do that?" And you said, because you sent me the classified listing. You said because it's a great car, everything works, and it's going to be the next amazing thing on track. Were you correct?
Right.
85% correct?
Yeah, I mean, guys, raise your hand if you've had a running driving VW Fox tonight.
Okay, show us this machine. Show us our VW Fox that we now apparently own.
Oh, there we go. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's horrible. Okay, so did you get it running?
No, the battery is so dead that 2 jump boxes at once won't make it run, but it cranks.
It does crank. So what are we looking at here? Describe to us what this actually is.
I'll give you the 30,000-foot view. This was campaigned fairly successfully in the 24 hours of Lemons by a team called Far From Winning, all formatted like a German word. And despite the team name, they did pretty well. So this is it could pretty much pass Lemons tech and theoretically be a somewhat competitive car. It's got a 2-liter out of a Jetta, a later Jetta swapped into it. Still front-wheel drive, which is horrible. But yeah, it was $500.
It actually looks like it's got some pretty good safety equipment in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to need a seat, but the cage really isn't that bad. I mean, it's got even the door bars, which are a weak point on a lot of budget cars, are surprisingly decent for what it is. You can tell that it's a car that's been mixed a little bit. Like, you're starting to see broken welds where they kind of just cobbled things onto the dash as the season changed, and we try not to move the camera too fast here, but you can tell it lived outside too, because we're starting to see some rust holes around the cage feet where they didn't undercoat after they burned through the original stuff. But that's really, for $500, there's not much work to do.
Okay, well, I'm hearing a lot of qualifiers there, like it should be a great car, and if the cage is good enough, and things are probably going to be fine. So what's the plan of attack here? How are you guys gonna?
So we actually have a list, even some pizza too, but I don't know if you could read the list, but basically it just needs the normal stuff that a car that just came off track needs. It needs some consumables. It needs a little bit of cleanup. Until we take it to a test day, we don't really know what else. But theoretically, supposedly it was running September last year in a race with safety gear and everything. So it'll need a fire system to pass 2019 Lemons Tech, but that's about it, I think.
So before this thing goes on track, though, are we going to be able to get it teched by somebody before it actually shows up to a race? What's the procedure for that?
Well, Grassroots Motorsports has some pretty decent articles on safety gear and that sort of thing, so we're definitely going to be flipping through the archives to make sure. But you do techs at your shop, right? At the main GRM Live shop?
Oh yeah, and I'm totally totally licensed for Lemons Tech. So okay, awesome. We're excited. What's the plan tonight? You guys are going to be there. I see you've just gotten into your pizza. So how far are you going to get tonight?
So we'd like to be able to drive it tonight. It doesn't have headlights, so we're not going to drive it far. But we're going to try and at least drive it around the yard a little bit and see if it runs and drives and shifts and that sort of thing. And from there, we'll know if it's time to start finding a new engine or if it's time to put some brake pads on it.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're excited. I cannot wait to see stories come across my desk for this thing. And it's...
Oh, I have one interesting thing we learned. We weighed it. Guess how much this car weighs according to the intercomp scales in my garage. And this is not the real content.
Now, just to let everybody know, this is not the official Intercomp What's It Weigh segment tonight. This is a bonus Intercomp What's It Weigh segment. I'm going to say You know, since this is unofficial, I feel like I'm okay to take a guess. I think that car weighs 2,406 pounds.
Okay, 1975.
Wow. Okay.
It's a rock. Yeah, it's going to be the fastest on track for sure.
It is a lightweight. Well, boys, I'm excited for you. I hope your tetanus shots are all up to date, and I am looking forward to seeing stories about that thing come across my desk. So thank you for joining us this evening.
No problem. We're going to get back to work.
All right, bye. That was like that looked like people that actually knew what they were doing a thing, didn't everybody? Let me get Katie set back up here. All right, I'll let Katie do that. While she's doing that, I'm going to tell you guys. By the way, thanks very much to Tom and Miles and Jesse, who found that thing, rescued it, and are going to have it out on track, hopefully for the 2019 season, or maybe even late in 2018. It's actually somewhat better than I was expecting. So let us, while we are waiting for a moment here, we're going to be going next to our turbocharged 240Z feature, our friends Quentin and Mike from Toronto. Before we go to that, though, let me tell you guys about the people that make this show possible. I'm talking about folks like CRC. This is Brake Clean Pro Series. Ladies and gentlemen, what's better than Brake Clean, I ask you? Well, the only thing that really answers that question is more Brake Clean, and that's what Brake Clean Pro Series is all about. I'm actually seeing this stuff in stores now. This has actually been released to the civilian population. It is literally Brake Clean in a bigger can. Brake Clean, or CRC, sent the word out to their customers, to jobbers, to consumers. So what can we do to improve Brake Clean? And everybody said, give us more. So this is Brake Clean in a container that is almost 60% bigger than the regular Brake Clean container. This is available anywhere you buy Brake Clean that also doesn't suck. It's like at auto parts stores, Lowe's, Harbor Freight. They have this Brake Clean Pro Series, and it is fantastic because you do not have to reach for a can of Brake Clean as often as you would before. Check them out online at crcindustries.com. Even better, check them out in person wherever you buy automotive chemicals. And when you're buying that CRC stuff, you're not only getting a great product, you're getting a product from a company that supports this world we live in, this world of amateur and professional motorsports. And we appreciate that. That is the thing we ask you to do, to give back to us just a little bit. Also, check out our friends at Autobooks Aerobooks. Check them out at autobooks-aerobooks.com. If you're in Burbank, California, please check them out in person because they have amazing live events going on there every single week. Author signings, cruise-ins, cars and coffees, all kinds of cool stuff going on right there in the shop, as well as tens of thousands of books, magazines, DVDs, videos, collectibles, and anything else automotive you can possibly imagine. If you can't make it there in person, check them out online, autobooks-aerobooks.com. You can order anything in their inventory. But if you can get out there, it is worth the trip if you're anywhere in Southern California. It is a hub of automotive activity in Southern California. Also, Intercomp, ladies and gentlemen, in just a little bit, we're going to be putting this MX-5 on the Intercomp wireless scales. It will be time for another edition of Guess the Weight of What's It Weigh, of How Heavy Is It? I'm changing the name as we go because it's so exciting. What's It Weigh, presented by Intercomp. Guess the weight of this fully loaded Mazda MX-5, full tank of gas, power retractable hardtop. Guess the weight, and you can win fabulous prizes. Alrighty, we'll be back and take a look under this car in just a few minutes. In the meantime, let us go to the great white north of Toronto, ladies and gentlemen. I want to introduce you to some friends of mine, Quentin Yeri and Mike Wolf. They drive an amazing Datsun 240Z. Here is a little piece on that car.
I'm Quentin Yeri, and this is my co-driver Mike Wolf. We're from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and we drive a 1972 Datsun 240Z. I've owned the car for approximately 20 years, And it's gone through multiple generations of work. It started out with it being a stock, almost show quality car, and then got into autocrossing events and quite enjoyed that approximately 15 years ago. Since then, the car's been through multiple iterations. And about 6 years ago, Mike here invited me to go to Lincoln, which ruined me and took a lot of money out of my pocket for a while. So we decided that we might want to make the car competitive. And since then, we've done some serious changes to it, allowing Mike to be competitive in SSM class. Some of the things that it sits with now, we went out and bought a brand new N1 block from Japan. It's running an R34, which is the Nissan RB26 last generation. We stroked it with the Nito Stroker kit, and we're running a Borg-Warner EFR for a turbo, standalone system as well. And this year, some of the neat stuff we did was we went for a complete MCS suspension system, which made substantial improvements for Mike this year, right?
Yeah, I love it.
That's what I'm going to get out of you?
Yeah, no. So when I started driving with Quentin, we were friends, and
oh yeah, that was a while ago.
Ever since we met, I've loved this car, and
yeah, I forgot the first time he drove it was actually on an oval.
Yeah, every once in a while he let me drive it, and I loved it. And so we talked him into coming to Lincoln, because in Ontario we didn't have courses that allowed you to use power. So we brought it to Lincoln, and it was really hard to drive. It at the time had twin turbos, and it made tons of power, and it was very laggy. So we'd come out of the corner, wait, and just before you get to the next corner, all the power would come in, the back end would just let loose, it'd be sideways. But it was still tons of fun, and we were really uncompetitive. We were close to last, I think, the first time we came.
Yep.
And so over that winter, I think that was when I talked you into switching to the EFR.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We bought a new turbo intake.
Yep.
Those types of things.
The way it works usually is I bug Quentin to make changes to the car to make it faster.
Yep.
And after enough bugging, eventually it happens. Yeah, so one of the other changes was we were wanting to shed weight because we were way over our minimum weight. And also we were getting new stock transmissions, RB25 transmissions from Nissan, and they would break instantly. The synchros would be gone after one run. So
I went hunting for a transmission.
Yeah.
And looked around a lot, and we came across a new company, and it was called HGT. So I contacted the owner, and he said to me, the first thing he said to me is, "You can't afford it." He goes, "You're not going to afford it." I said, "Well, what do you mean I can't afford it? Send me a price." And we talked for a while, and then he agreed to actually sponsor us. It wasn't a complete sponsorship, but he paid for a good part of it. He actually flew to Canada to interview me. And so he's been quite supportive, actually, in our endeavors with this. And for that, we tried to promote his products, obviously, quite well.
First of all, it showed up on a pallet. It's not very big. It was about this big. And the whole thing was polished aluminum. It's a work of art. It's crazy how shiny it was. Unfortunately, it's under the car. But installing it wasn't too bad. Once we had the right bell housing, we were able to do it. We just had to make a mount. It wasn't too bad, really.
No.
Running the shifter was
easy. The interlinkage and everything on it was quite
simple.
Easy. And it's quite robust. It comes from Australia, from running the supercars down there. That's actually where they put it to a lot of use. So I understood a lot of drift cars run it, drag cars run it. So it'll handle up to 800 foot-pounds of torque, which is probably why we're not breaking it. We don't have that much torque. We are close to 500 foot-pounds of torque, though, at the wheels. And right now the horsepower is
640 at the wheels?
640 at the wheels. We're running E85 at the moment, so boost is pretty instant, too. It's actually very drivable. It's very controllable.
I'd say it's kind of like trying to control a rocket. You sort of suggest where you want to go and hope that it goes there, because once you have the foot on the gas, it's pretty on-off. Because it makes full boost all the time, basically. So there's not really a lot of throttle modulation, and so you just sort of hope it's pointing in the right direction when it starts going. And
he says that.
And hang on.
But things do happen quick in it. It's
Yeah.
interesting to take a drive in, like one of the Miatas or something like that. You get to relearn your driving habits, and then driving it again actually makes a big difference, because things do happen quick in it. Entering a turn, your braking points, those are considerations that you need to relearn every once in a while, I think. Well, this year we're hoping to do well at Lincoln with the car as we did. So the big changes over the winter were suspension, switching over to an E85 system so that it runs a little cooler, boosts sooner, and it did give us, over 100 foot-pounds more torque at the wheels. I'm really hoping at this point that nothing is the weak point, but I know there is. I know the half shafts are the weak point on the car. They are going to break.
Yeah.
We're looking at changes to those, probably being able to run the 911 or 936 half shafts in the future, and that's probably a swap we'll do in the winter. And the other thing we're always hunting for is to get some weight out of the car. And we're still focused on that. It is about, 250, 300 pounds over its minimum. So
Yep.
we'd like to lose some of that as well.
And I'd also like to work on the aero.
Oh yeah.
We need a bigger splitter. A few little things. We can probably get some more weight out of the rear wing mounts, that sort of thing. And
I would like to thank the people that have helped put the car together. I obviously didn't do it by myself, busy person, but there's been some serious contributors to it, and one we mentioned was HGT, being able to supply us with a gearbox that was really well sorted. We've got work from Whitehead Performance, which had built the initial engine, and Serious Garage Works, who installed the suspension when it was done. And Florida Garage, who helps us with the bodywork and everything else and lets us store our toys in their big yard. So, they're pretty key to it. So those would be the people we'd like to thank.
I'd like to thank Quentin, because he lets me drive it.
Thank you very much to Quentin Yari and Mike Wolf for giving us a tour around that 240Z. We met them at the Optima Drive Auto X event in Peru, Indiana. They were down for some concrete time in preparation for the Solo Nationals in Lincoln, Nebraska, which a lot of you are heading out there now. I know we have some people actually watching us from airplanes heading out there, and some people who are actually on site already getting ready for the Pro Solo this weekend and the Solo National Championships next week. We will be there starting David's landing Sunday afternoon. I am arriving Monday morning. We will have live broadcasts every day next week from the SCCA Solo Nationals in Lincoln. On Monday around 2:30 Eastern, we're going to have a special tech talk from BF Goodrich Tires. We'll have BFG tire engineers answering all your tire questions. We'll have a live audience there on site. We'll be talking tire tech with the folks from BFG. After that, Tuesday through Friday, we will be live. Oh, I forgot about the most important thing. Monday night around 7:30 Eastern, we will have the 5th annual Tacos and Talent open mic show from Lincoln. We will have the most talented or the most willing to sign up for a slot at the talent show. We will have them on stage performing the absolutely amazing things that the solo community performs every year. We've got singers, we've got dancers, we've got comics, we've got people doing things that they won't tell me about. We invite you to join us for that. That is the Tacos and Talent Welcome Party presented by BF Goodrich and the Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's a very, very cool time. We hope you all can join us. After that, Tuesday through Friday, we'll be coming to you live at the close of competition every day with some features. We'll be talking to some people and getting a look at their cars, getting an update on the the MX-5 light here because this is anybody that is back to see several people. Okay, hit okay. Go ahead. What the hell? There we go.